Welcome to episode 2, Understanding the Property World Post-COVID-19 and What's Next. So today we're talking about London, a very big market for IP Global and personally for myself over the years, a very successful market for us over the years, and I want to talk today about what's happening at the moment and where we see things going in the next few weeks and months. Well, first and foremost, today is a historic day. It's the 13th of May. The government have said you can now complete on your property purchase or sale, which is fantastic since I believe there are something like 400,000 properties in the UK that are about to be sold or bought and were unable to do so because of the lockdown. So congratulations to all those people who can now move, including my mother-in-law, who sold her house before the lockdown and was unable to move. The only downside of which, of course, is she's moving in next door to me. But that's another matter. Anyway, to London. Housing data in London it always blows my mind a little bit in terms of the lack of supply levels that exist there and also how much London grows despite the challenges that it's always facing like anywhere else. We've had Brexit and goodness knows what over the years. Yet, if you look at the last 20 years, the number of jobs in London has grown by 45%, but the number of homes has only grown by 18%. So more people, more jobs, less property. Again, tight supply levels, which is great for us property investors. And that doesn't seem to be changing whatsoever post-Brexit. But what of developers? Developers, as I said last week, are going to develop less properties in the coming months, without a doubt. There's going to be more nervousness about land purchases, and they will be deferred momentarily. And also house builders are going to be concentrating on their existing stock and finishing schemes that have had to stop due to lockdown. So this is only going to drive down supply levels. Now, just before all of this happened, predictions in the market were strong and looking at a 5 to 10% increase in prices in 2020. That obviously now is going to change somewhat. 97% of asking prices were being achieved at the end of last year in London, and that's dropped to 93% at the moment. And I think that tells all the would-be bargain hunters that there are not going to be any super bargains in London. And I think there's the big change between now and 2008-9. There are not going to be 20% reductions. Everybody knows my favourite stat. London property prices have doubled every 10 years since the Second World War. That happens with, great consistency and will continue to happen. I don't see any changes there. And if you're out looking for crazy bargains, you're not going to get them. But you should be looking at London. London supply levels will be down. Employment levels, even post this, will always be strong in London. And if anything, what happens in these crises is more people looking to move to where the jobs are and capital cities. So I see more of that happening, as it did 10 years ago, and as it always seems to happen in London. But can people borrow money? That's the big concern. Well, 42 of the 49 buy-to-let investors are still very much open for business. That's 85% of the lenders. There might be some tightening of LTV rates, potentially. But again, the government is not going to let lenders not lend. The market needs to be open for business. I see the biggest numbers of transactions in London will be investors. Why? Buyers, owner-occupiers will be more nervous about their jobs and will probably sit on the fence for 6 to 12 months. But buy-to-let investors will see that as an opportunity, better tenanting of properties and more renters. So I see the London market being really positive and very buoyant in the next 12, 18 months. Does that mean we'll see huge increases in prices? Not necessarily, but you shouldn't be buying a property as an investment for a year. What it does do is it gives you access to properties that otherwise would be sold to owner-occupiers. We're very bullish about this market. Well, many of you know that IPG has been very busy in London over the past 10 years and we'll be back doing that again. We have our first launch coming up in the next few weeks, and I myself am looking at some projects in Hoxton on Thursday this week. Again, normally you wouldn't get a chance to even touch anything in a market like that, a small, low-rise building in a very popular part of London, but these buildings are available. Sellers are not desperate. There are very few desperate sellers in London. As I say, I don't see there being a great deal of desperate sellers, but I do see there being good access to the market. And what we always love when we're buying property is to be in a buyer's market where we're able to pick and choose, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And while I don't think we'll be seeing great bargains, I think investors will be looking at crazy low interest rates again. As we know, Bank of England lending rate is 0.1% at base rate, which will give us some really cheap lending. A strong tenant demand, number 2. 3, good access to quality product. For a lot of buyers, access to probably the best property market on the planet, and certainly the oldest, and one which consistently has delivered for investors year after year. I guess finishing up, what happened to us 10 years ago? Well, we got involved in London and we were very busy. A couple of projects to note in no particular order. In July 2010, we bought in this space in Lambeth, SW8, at just over £500 a foot. We bought Pagasso in Hackney N1 at £461 a foot. Those projects have, at current estimate, not at the height of the market, but current estimate are up around between £903 and £942 a foot, which is 74% up, 95% in the case of Hackney. That's unleveraged. Even if you had a 50% mortgage, that's a nearly 200% increase in return on capital, notwithstanding the positive carry on the yield in that time. And I can go on. We paid £444 a foot in W3, £381 in NW9, £526 a foot in Tower Hamlets E1, and all those projects are up by between 76 and 87% since we started. And just looking at some of the transactions we did for the first year after the last recession, we did 12 million, 7, 19, 16, 23, 9 million in Fitzrovia. And we covered the, E1, NW9, E1, N1, EC4. All of these schemes have gone up in value between, looking at the numbers here on the valuations, anything from low 70s to over 100% since 2009-10 to 2020, and that's all unleveraged. I see similar opportunities again right now. Yes, we might need to be a bit more picky with our projects, but there are no desperate sellers, and I see really great opportunities in London, both for low, cheap borrowing, good yields, good solid yields, not crazy yields, but good solid yields, predictable, strong tenanting, and a good 5-10 year play on capital appreciation. Yes, bullish as always on London. We have to pick and choose, we have to find the right schemes, which is never easy, but doubtless great opportunities. I hope that was useful. I don't want to run over my time anymore. Take care, stay safe, and we'll speak to you next week.